Here we are live. Go ahead, Leo.
Well, thank you, Jim, for the introduction. Evening to everybody here. Really appreciate you coming out to spend a little time with us, learn a little bit about what we love and endure nonstop. What we try to do here at Bravidia is a pretty type community. We really want to make sure that we're teaching people how to trade stocks. We're not interested in telling you, this is where to buy, this is what to do type community. We're more interested in the overall picture of things. So that's going to be today's breakdown. What I've found in the short amount of time I've is there's still a lot of confusion on some of the basics. And even for veteran traders or more advanced traders, this could be a problem because you can't have a good house without a foundation. This is going to be on building the foundation. I'm going to try to break these up into basically two sections. And today's going to be called just basically 101. And we'll list that here in the room here in just a second. What is 101? So anybody who's been to any type of school, college, whatever, there's always a beginning to everything. Again, the key to trading stocks is understanding that you can't have a house built without a framework, without a good foundation. So today, we're going to be focusing on some of the two basic things that I find most traders, unfortunately, still not getting an understanding of. So today's class can be broken up into two sections. So the first section, we're going to focus on just a charting tool. So everybody's familiar with Finviz. Finviz is going to be something I'm going to go into in quite a bit of detail. I'm not going to go too nuts into it, but enough where you can at least understand the formatting of it. When I first started in this, I found that Finviz for me was an easy way to understand how charts work, and it gave me everything in one quick section. We're going to have a later video as well as a later presentation on Thinkorswim, but today again is a 101. So if I'm starting in stock trading, where am I going? I'm going straight to probably the #1 format, which is Finviz. So we're going to walk through Finviz, how to use it, and how to understand very basic ideas that is still very uncommonplace with a lot of traders. They're still getting confused on what is the support, what is the resistance, what happens when these things break. I mean, time and time again, I have people who've been trading for 2 to 3 years, and I still get the question, where is the resistance? And I almost want to just like be like, how have I not been able to teach someone resistance after 3 years? Or why haven't they put in the time to understand what a resistance area is after 3 years? So we're going to go through that very basic stuff. Second part of it is going to be trend lines, how to understand how a trend is actually associated with the stock, how it works, how you see it, how it can actually broadcast into a larger picture, into a future sense of what the stock is going to do. We'll walk through some basic areas of support, resistance, how to understand what the resistance are, and how it affects the day-to-day trading. This is kind of the easiest way to understand what a stock is going to do in a long of time. So whether your duration is, I want to day trade, so your duration is that day. So you have to understand that your long-term trading setup is that day. But if you're looking into longer and longer stocks, it's really good to understand specifically where the supports and where the resistance are. Into just a quick disclaimer, and we'll pretty much be on our way. So Nvidia itself, we are with any type of broker or an investment setup. Nvidia is neither licensed nor qualified to provide investment advice. There's no responsibility whatsoever for any direct or consequential loss arising from any of the use or information from the service. The disclaimer is in our left side of our Discord. Please read it. It's pretty standard. And hey, Gucci. Move on behind that and go to the next stage.
He had to put his 2 cents in.
Actually, he had to. So the mission statement, our vision is to develop not only a community, but safe platform to grow as a trader and the stepping stone to a path to financial independence. Our principles guide us each day to learn with others and support all in the community in a positive and promoting attitude. All to state when they learn what they learned here that made them the person they are tomorrow. And we really are very specific on answering as many questions as we can, but we really want to make sure you understand the mission statement that we are here to guide you to what our better traders can do day in and day out and be successful in. We all want the exact same thing for you through we've all gone through the rigmarole, what it takes to be a successful trader, but we want you to do it in at least the easiest way possible. We don't want to see a lot of the traders here go through the pains that I've gone through. If you've read through my blogs, Jim can probably go through 100 stories, thousands of stories. It's a really hard and rigorous type of I guess you can say almost an employment, because at the end you're basically employing yourself to be financially free, and we want to make sure we try to get you there at the soonest point possible. Quickest point between two lines is a straight line, and we're hoping we're able to provide that here. So let's go ahead and get into the first part of the presentation here.
And that last statement, I think it takes time, but once you realize that time has achieved your goal, your plateaus just keep going up and up and up, and it gets better and better. But once you realize how simple it is instead of how hard it is, it becomes a lot easier. Okay.
For people who are thanks, Jim. For the people who are here, I'm assuming everybody here is familiar with Finviz. The link in there for Finviz. We'll go through the breakdown of what the elite version gives you outside of just the standard. It sounds like everybody's pretty much familiar with Finviz. So Finviz itself is a free platform. You can use it without going into the elite setup. You can actually just go ahead and go right to that link that I placed inside of the Discord, and you can go straight there. The advantages I really enjoy about Finviz trader is that it allows you to get a broad scope of not only the markets, but really everything is in one very organized setup or website. They have maps, they have specific portfolios. As long as you log in, you can actually kind of play with a different type setup. So if you're interested in, let's say you want to buy fake Nike or fake Amazon, and you can do that through Finviz, and you can actually see kind of a background of what you understand in the market to this point, and then see it perform over a certain time frame. They have backtesting too. I haven't used too much of the backtesting. I think that's just more in the elite version that I just set up. This is basically what I'm looking at every single day when I wake up in the morning once this gets live. So for the elite version, you get live streaming data that starts pretty much a half hour prior to the bell. And that allows you to at least dictate what the chart looks like. And most importantly, understanding if it is a gapping or a gapping ticker. So I post, with the trade idea scanner and everything else, but you really still have to understand what a chart means even before we get into what trade ideas is as a platform. So again, this is more of a 101. And you see Finviz, you're going to see on the left-hand side what the leading gappers are, what's their volume, and one individually, and it can bring up that specific ticker. When you bring up that specific ticker, you're going to want to instantly look for basically three things. And the three things you're going to want to look for is reason for the stock gapping up. Now, this is one of those things where a lot of people will just be like, oh, it's being pumped from this room, it's being pumped from this room. But if there is a legitimate reason why that stock is gapping up, if they got a a stage 2 clearance, or if they got an additional amount of funding that they previously didn't have in the books prior. A lot of the stocks that we trade, definitely biotech stocks, they're very volatile. So these small little gaps of news makes huge differences at their end of the day products. Their catalyst, as Jim is mentioning here in chat, is the key to understanding what is the reason for that specific ticker to be. Hear me okay? Okay. My for some reason it's auto shutting down, so I'm just going to get a backup plan just in case.
We can hear you.
Okay, so I got my backup ready. Sorry about that. So let's go ahead and go into Finviz here. So when you click on an individual ticker within Finviz, let's just go ahead and keep it fresh.
Sorry about that. Can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, cool. So sorry about that backup plan. I'm glad I came prepared with a backup plan. So I must have not charged my headphones. So let's go ahead and get into Finviz itself. When you bring up a ticker, let's go ahead and keep it fresh today, because we just traded this ticker on Friday. A lot of people played it. I didn't play it because unfortunately I was out. Let's go ahead and mute that. Can everybody please mute their microphones? So INNT. So I instantly pull it up, INNT, which was gapping up on news on Friday. So I'll go ahead and post the news here. And this is all provided in Finviz. So why is INNT moving? It's kind of small, but you can see it. So Innovative Biopharmaceuticals announces participation in the 20th Annual Rodman and Renshaw Global Investment Conference in New York City, September 4th, 6th, in 2018. So why would this actually be in any type of way a catalyst? Okay, well, here's the thing. A lot of the stuff that we're dealing with, specifically in the slower market, the catalyst can be really kind of small, because right now traders are looking for just any momentum to jump into anything. These conferences are huge. I mean, they're releasing new data. They're releasing endpoints. They're releasing a lot of the information that we don't get on basic news, almost kind of like the insider information, but a legal fashion of doing it because it's within their own sector or industry. So these type of moves in pre-market are something you want to immediately understand, and hopefully it catches your attention to be like, okay, so we have a catalyst. Great. So what I do any single time I see something on Finviz on the left-hand side, what are the leading gappers? I get my journal out, which is another video we'll go through. I get my journal out and I look for 4 basic things when it comes to my journal. So the 4 basic things I look for when it comes to my journal is, does it have a catalyst? So in this case, this definitely does have a catalyst. It has a movement, which is going to be in a short time frame. Let me go ahead and put this here. Next is, if it does have a catalyst, what's the time frame? What am I looking at seeing when it comes to the long-term setup for this? Is it something that's going to be a catalyst for tomorrow? Is it a catalyst for just today? I want to see the long-term trend of the catalyst. When looking for my long-term stock picks, I'm looking at the financial statement and trying to figure out what this funding is going to do to the bottom line. So long-term effect on the catalyst. The next thing I'm looking for is, the most important thing, I think, is where it's going to gap to. So where it's going to gap to. Let me go ahead and post this in here now. So where it's going to gap to is something that you can look at a chart and instantly, I feel, get a feeling for where it's going to go. If you have the right volume, if you have the right setup, then you'll understand that there is almost a power behind these charts. These charts are power. If you can look at it, let's go ahead and pull up the INNT Finviz chart. And if you look at it, you're instantly seeing a trend line that's going down, a support area that just broke. So you have the volume, huge volume spike over 1 million, which is as of Friday. And it's gapping up right to the EMA 50. Now, this is on a daily. I really, really like the EMA 50 when it comes to understanding where the area itself or the gap is going to go, because it's a really nice fine-tuned area, at least for me, to understand where the next gap is going to go to. So let's go ahead and look into the next part of it. So you got your catalyst. Catalyst is done. You have a long-term effect on the catalyst. What's the time frame I'm looking at where this is going to affect? And then where is it going to gap to? If you look at the chart, you can kind of see these areas that it hit almost exactly. Now, this is the end of the day chart on INNT. It's the end of the day, which means if you would have looked at that chart the day prior, you would be hitting almost exactly where those points where you'd either pull back, and I think personally INNT is going to go higher, but at least you can understand where it's sitting as of today. So as of today, you see it gapped up all the way to right around 785, where you can see that resistance on the EMA 50. And then we're looking at the 200, and where's that at? Over $10. So if I wasn't around on Friday, but I can guarantee that Vegas probably mentioned that this is probably going to $10. Can everybody visually see the reason why we feel it would go to $10 just by simply looking at the chart? Can everybody see that?
Yes. The gap. The gap, yay.
Gap, yay. Cool. So again, this could be 101 for a lot of the traders in here. But again, I really want to make sure you guys understand that the chart explains a lot. Jim is going to have his own little fun day in charts because he's the charting wizard. But again, this is 101, so I want to make sure that you guys are at least understanding a lot of the basic details. So when it comes to charts, I rarely ever use the RSI. Now, everybody's like, whoa, what are you talking about? RSI depicts everything. RSI is everything in this game. I personally think RSI is a huge manipulation on your senses. I do like MACD. I do like crossovers because you actually have two mathematical breakdowns of how the MACD is performed. Now, the RSI is the same thing. It's relative to volume and other aspects, but I never ever use the RSI. What I found when I first started trading is that I instantly saw something would hit a 70 RSI, which is, overbought. So too many people were in the stocks. No one's going to touch it anymore. And then I would stop. And these gap up plays that we play every morning, most of them are already at 70 RSI. So I was losing out on a lot of opportunity. Now, where RSI is at its best is when it comes down to anything that's support. So RSI itself, when it starts hitting the overbought or oversold area, that's when you start seeing some buying opportunities. But RSI and the aspect of momentum, I try to keep away from as much as possible because at that point, it's human emotions controlling momentum. It's not logical thinking. When the stock is oversold, which is at the bottom, you'll look at the chart that I just posted. And once you start hitting that 30 area for oversold, you'll start to see a pretty easy way to understand, okay, this is an area where there's support. And that's what I look at when it comes to the RSI. I only use RSI just for a support area, and it's very, very rare I ever use it for any type of trending going above a 70 RSI. Because at that point, I've seen stocks, probably the best example I can think of is when I traded Elfin God rest our souls for me even saying that name. But when I traded Elfin, it was at an 80 RSI, an 80. And I traded it from an 80 RSI to an 89 RSI to a 90 to a 94 to a 96, the highest I've ever seen any RSI ever go. And I made $30,000 in one day. I made it in less than 4 hours. So that hands down is the reason why I don't use RSI as a positive momentum for why you should get out of a stock. You can lose a lot of opportunity by assuming that RSI itself is going to be the say all do all when it comes to stocks, because it's not. So I try to keep away from it as much as possible. It mentally messes with me. So let's go ahead and go into the elite features of Finviz if you decide to purchase it. So if you do the purchase, and we are not soliciting anything here, but we're just wanting to give you the information. This is what you get when it comes to the free version compared to the elite version. The elite version itself runs around $299, if I'm not mistaken, for the year. If you want to try it out, I think it's about $35 a month, if I'm not mistaken. And I think it's worth every single penny. Now, we'll go through Thinkorswim in a later or a later Discord, but at this point, I really want to make sure that you guys understand that there's software out there that you can use day in and day out that is not going to cost you an arm and a leg. Now, a lot of people are like, well, I can't invest that much. You know, $300 is a lot of money. Once we start getting to, even trade ideas where it's $2,500 to $3,000 in a year, the numbers just start adding up. And a lot of our traders start getting worried, like, how much do I need to invest in this? I only say one thing and one thing only, is how much are you willing to invest in yourself? And this is a really big deal for me when it comes to beginner traders is, am I expecting you to open your wallet and buy everything? No. But what I am expecting is that for you to at least put yourself in a situation where, let's say you're a construction worker, get the damn good combat boots, get the steel toe, get the apparel that's going to make you the best that you can be. You would do it in every other situation. You shouldn't have to disregard that same effect because you're trading stock and you're sitting there, on your couch or desk or whatever. Invest in yourself, invest in products that's going to make you a better person. But I personally think as a beginner level, everybody should be right off the bat. If you're trading for the first 6 months, first year, everybody should have an elite version of Finviz. And that's just my personal opinion. So if you look at it, it gives you real-time data. It breaks down, again, a lot of the different portfolio uses you can use, whether you're trying to backtest extended, whether you're trying to backtest extended lookouts on a specific stock, or if you're just trying to play around with, a platform that's very user-friendly. So I'm definitely a big fan of Finviz, and I really feel that everybody should get into it as soon as possible if they can, if they're not already in it. Now, a lot of you guys are doing Thinkorswim. That's perfectly fine. But today, again, is more about Finviz. So let's go ahead and take a look at Finviz and how it works when it comes to the charting aspects. So a very popular ticker here is AMD. So I pulled this up just by plugging in AMD just in the upper portion of the search bar, and it pulls up that chart. So in that chart, it gives you kind of a breakdown. You'll see on the left-hand side that I have the EMA 50, 20, 8, and 200. The Helio is actually more for my long-term plays, but I still keep it in there. And this can all be found if you decide to just click on the settings area right there. So you can go ahead and change out. If you like SMAs, you can do SMAs, you can do EMAs. I'm a big fan of EMAs over SMAs. Jim is a big fan of both. But at the end, I really want you to at least focus on one of the two. Don't try to overwhelm yourself and try to do both. I really recommend at least understanding how the EMA works first, or understanding how the SMA works first. So that's my settings. That's how I set up my setup for Finviz, and I still use it to this day. So if you guys want to, obviously this is being recorded, so that'll all be saved as saved data. So going back to the chart. So in the first part, you'll see AMD, and I put a big red arrow where the charting tools are. Now, a lot of these charting tools are definitely fun to play with, there is quite a bit in there. So if you were to look at the bottom left, it's just a standard arrow. If you go down to my favorite one, and you'll see me actually use it in the room, is you'll see this one. So in this one, it's basically where I like to draw channels for people to see. It gives you a nice, this is more of a timed, at least when it comes to channels, that this square is gonna, or rectangle when it's all drawn out, is gonna be your best benefit. So it's gonna be your best benefit. Probably, this is where I do a lot of my lunch scalps. I do them based on finding a channel and then finding the bottom of that channel and then hoping, you know, everything else when it comes to my algorithms all work out. But when it comes down to at least where I look for a channel, I always use this. I do use Thinkorswim sometimes, but I've told you multiple times in the chat, I really just like Finviz for me to accurately just kind of take a quick look at it. So that's where I draw my channels. I look for a bottom and a top channel, and that way you can kind of get a feel of where the stock is finding some support, where the stock is starting to kind of fail at times. But and most importantly, again, it's more about just understanding that there is a pattern behind all that we do. This isn't just faux pas. This is legit. Two things: basic mathematics and human emotions.
Let me cut in for a second. I've been at this for like 14 years, and here since I started my challenge, I started looking for channels. So even after doing this for all that period of time, I'm still finding new things to learn, and that's basically what I want to say.
No, it's very true. It's very true. So I'm going to go ahead and show you, if I was to draw just a quick channel, and Jim's going to kill me because this is not going to be as beautiful as his charts.
Not true.
So using that square tool, it highlights in blue an area, what I would consider a channel. So you have your bottom, and you draw your channels basically from the bottom to the top, and the bottom to the top. So this is AMD moves with a lot of volume. A lot of our biotech stocks that are a little bit more slower volume, you can actually see better channels forming. But since we're using AMD as an example, it's still a good idea to at least pull it up. So using the square tool, you kind of understand now where the channel is. So if I was to buy, or if I was to play options, specifically options since it's been such a popular thing lately, is I would go ahead and wait for that channel to hit. Let's go ahead and look at AMD on right around, oh, I don't have the time in there, but it's 12 o'clock p.m., right when it hits the first area of support. First area of support is right around 24, I would say 24.95, 25, and it goes all the way up to 25.20. Comes back down to 25, hits 25.20. Has a steady volume decrease. That's usually right around kind of the lunchtime, and then an increase right at the end. So if you were playing even options as a day trader, if you can do that, or if you're playing, that's 20-cent scalps all day long. So 20-cent scalps on a chart that's obviously showing some sort of a pattern. You do 5,000 shares, 1,000 shares, 500 shares, it doesn't matter. You're still making 20 cents each time. And it's obviously being very apparent that there's support at that $25 area, which is a lot of mental resistance. So that's a tool that I do enjoy using quite a bit. The next tool I like to break into is, where is it at here? Support lines. So let's go ahead and add this here. So this could be found on the left-hand side, and you can make these as large or as small as you want. But support lines are going to be really, really important. We'll go through that in here in just a second. But let me go ahead and just pull up one chart here on where AMD is finding support. Now this is on a daily. When it comes to finding areas of support, specifically over a year's time, I like to use the daily. But let's go ahead and post this. So on these trend lines, you can make them thick, you can make them thin, but I can right ahead look at this chart and understand, okay, where's my support? Where is this ticker not wanting to fall below? So I'm finding that right around $24. and I'm finding it again right around 24.75. It's finding support again. So if I was to look at this outside looking in, I would think, okay, so AMD is being supported on, I say this all the time in chat, it's being supported on the quarters. So the quarters to me are a big mental resistance because people like to trade like I do in quarters or 50 cents or 75 cents or dollars. So AMD is a great example of basically smart traders who are doing the exact same thing each time. 25-cent gains, 50-cent gains, 25-cent gains. They're pulling back in and out of the stock. And they're doing that just by looking at very, very simple support areas. Where to buy, where to sell, where to buy, where to sell. It's a constant flipping action. So that's really, really nice to at least show you where the support areas are. And then with also Finviz, you can get into trend lines, which is basically the same exact thing. And that is, where did I put that chart? I'll find it here. There we go. So you can use the trend line option, which is, again, finding where the stock is going to go. And you can dictate a lot of that information just by looking at the chart. That's going to be on the upper left-hand corner of Finviz. So let's go ahead and post this here. Jim's amazing chart. And I'm not going to get too detailed into the trend lines, but we're going to go ahead and go through some more definitions here in a second. But just want to go ahead and show you that the software offers a lot of the same benefits of your more advanced software systems. I use E-Trade personally. Most of my equity is tied into E-Trade. They have a lot of cool charting tools. If there's enough E-Traders in here, I'll be more than happy to break that out. I do use TD Ameritrade as well. I don't trade as much. And lately, I've been having lots of fun in Robinhood with options. Let's go ahead. What is trend lines? Let's go ahead and talk about what they are. So trend lines themselves, how they work. Trend lines can be worked up on many time frames. Trend lines reveal the overall sentiment of the stock, and trend lines can affect as both support and resistance. So trend lines themselves is where the stock is moving up or down in a linear motion. And that's the key thing to understand. It has to be in a linear motion. You can't have a trend unless there's some sort of movement, whether it be upwards or downwards. The break of the movement is the break in the trend. So you'll hear us saying that a lot, that the trend has broken. Now, this is where you get the best buying opportunities, whether you go long or you go short. Trend lines are very, very important to understand where is the stock going and where has it found that area that has broken the trend. So how do they work in trading? Trend lines signal overall market sentiment on both long and short. How do they affect day trading? So trend lines are going to be just like charts like AMD that I just posted. But in this case, it's going to be, where is this trend line going? So in the trend itself, let's go ahead and pull up AMD. It's a very popular stock. I won't go into the details of my experience with AMD, but at the end, as long as everybody's benefiting from it, amen to that. So let's go ahead and take a quick chart or a quick look at AMD. And Jim's going to kill me again on this trend line. Love you, Jim.
That's all right. I'm going to match you with a chart also with a linear chart.
Awesome. So I'm going ahead and just mapping out some very simple trend lines when it comes to AMD. And what this is going to show you is all of a sudden, once these break, what's happening to the stock. So go ahead and post this here. Okay, so these are very generic, but still. So you have your trend line where you draw basically from the lowest. I just grabbed the red bar in May, and just drew a trend line going all the way up. Now Jim has another one as well. Now, what you want to look for is that second trend line. So when that trend breaks, look what happened to AMD. It went crazy. It jumped from $22 to almost $28 from breaking that trend. Each time you see where it just hit it on that trend line and pulled back. Hit that trend line and pull back. Hit that trend line, which we call a triple top, which is always a positive, whether you're going long or short. But I instantly had an alert right at $22. So I put my AMD alert at $22 just based on this very simple drawing of two lines. Where is the area of support and where do I need that to break? Now, in most cases, if AMD didn't have good news, it would have fell right back to that trend line of $18. But it came out with news, a catalyst, right at that moment, right when it was writing the EMA 20. And then volume came in. And once that 22 broke, my alarm went off instantly and it said, buy, this trend is broken. If you would have went ahead and bought at 22, I know a lot of people played options at 22 and ran it all the way to 26. I think that options play could have gained you, I think it gained us about 1,200% for people who played it early as one hell of a return. Just on a simple drawing of two basic lines, highs and lows, and where it needs to break. Going to the next aspect of things. When you have trend lines, you also have supports. So supports are just as important, if not as important, as trend lines. So if this would copy and paste correctly. Supports. How do you draw them? Supports are drawn at the period lows. Supported can be measured on any time frame, whether it be 5, 15, daily. There's multiple time frames you can play. The key thing with supports is that it finds support over time. If you pull up any chart, you'll realize that it almost seems kind of comical that you didn't see the support area before when it broke. We'll get people chatting in all the time in the chat saying, hey, where's the support? Where's the support? If you just pull up a simple chart and go to the yearly, you can go to the yearly day. It should show you a pretty easy way of looking at where is the support on this item. You can draw a simple line that shows you, okay, at 185, this stock is holding, and it's hold multiple times. So I'm going to go ahead and see if it continues to hold at 185. And if it does, and goes to 190, I know 190 is automatic for me, at least. People are going to want this to break $1. It's the mental resistance. I love trading tickers at 190 and 195. The reason I do this so much is, again, the mental resistance. A lot of people will try to focus too much on when it comes to the supports. They don't understand where it needs to break. But if you can understand where the supports are, it's amazing what it'll do when it comes to your day-to-day trading. Next, we'll go into the aspect of resistance, which is basically the same exact thing as support, but at a higher level. So the reason I really mentioned and talked about trend lines so much in the beginning is trend lines itself is very, very important to understand these two aspects, because you can't really make a trend line unless you understand the support and the resistance. So again, support and resistance, the resistance is drawn in the same periods. You can do it 5, 15, daily. It's all based on historical data. You can actually use the resistance based on previous trend lines. There's a lot of psychological and historical data on every ticker, as long as it's not a IPO, on where this resistance needs to break. So bringing up that aspect of $1. So that $1.85 ticker. You'll never see me really buy anything at $1.05. I'm going to say I'm looking at it at 190, and I'm looking at it for the break of $2 at 195, because again, it's mental resistance. We're all psychologically inclined to want to buy $1 ticker or a quarter. So most of my trades, I'm looking for quarter trades, and I use a lot of the data and resistance and support to basically go through my day-to-day trading. So if you were to look at a chart and you didn't want to draw too many crazy lines, let's go back to AMD again. Let's see if I can copy and paste this here. Oh, I don't want Amazon Music. Okay. So using AMD again, the picture comes really clear. So this is the yearly again, and the high a day was at 27.25, it looks like. You can draw the lines to understand where the support, where it needs to break. So right now, as long as AMD stays on a positive uptrend, which it definitely looks like it is, if you were to get right above 25.75, do you see where that area needs to break? And then what's next after that? A huge gap up to a dollar gain. So it'd be 25.75 to 27.25. That's a good $1.25. That's money in the bank. So I'm setting my alarm for actually an option play, because I told myself I'm not going to play AMD anymore. But I'm going to set my alarm for an option play at 25.75 just by looking at what the previous areas of resistance needs to break. And then after that, I'm going to play whatever that call option is, probably a weekly, end of the week or the week next, to that $27 call option. So it can be used as day picks, which is a little bit hard because you have to use a lot of capital in AMD. But for option plays, understanding support and resistance is really going to be key to understanding where the chart is going to go and where you're going to find a little bit of what I call chart attitude, where it's just one of those spots that you're just not able to break over time. All right, so let's go ahead and go into...
I like the chart attitude. That means momentum, right? And volume, and you got price and all kinds of indicators going behind you, right? Backing you up.
And that's the thing. You got to look at support and resistance lines as your boys. These are your boys who are going to get you through the fight. And me as a previous boxer, Jim as a previous boxer, we've been through a lot of fights in our days, and we've been hit extremely hard. And it wasn't the fact of me learning how to bob and weave. It was the fact that I finally learned how to position myself to be at a better angle. So boxing itself is a lot about angles, and so is trading stock. It's a lot about angles. You can be the best puncher in the world and be a shitty boxer, because if you're only throwing in your capital just for that one gung-ho, I'm going to make it on this one trade, you're never going to learn and you're going to get knocked out. In trading, you have to understand your angles. You have to understand it on every aspect of things. This is, again, a beginning course. We're not going to try to get too involved on what you need to learn. But for you to learn, I want to make sure everybody understands that this is an angle. You're angling yourself to be the best boxer. I'm not a big fan of Mayweather, but he is a artist when it comes to angling his body in a position that he can't get hit, where he's playing defense. Trading is a lot of defense. You're defending your capital. You're defending, because in a day, there's trillions of dollars being exchanged in a day. Trillions. If you can just get one small piece of that, what a huge difference that would make on your lifestyle, for your friends, for your family, for your overall well-being. All it takes, and the money's out there. There's trillions of dollars traded each day. $200, can you pull $200 from $1 trillion? Yes, you could. You just have to position yourself to be at that right angle and be in the position to do so. I think everybody here can do it. I've done it. I do it part-time. I would love to go ahead and do this full-time, but I have my previous business agreements that I have to abide by, and I'm perfectly happy doing that. But I can't wait to retire, maybe be in Hawaii with Jim and
Yeah.
just trade stocks all day long. All day long.
That's right.
So I don't want to have this go too much longer because, again, I wanted to keep it within an hour. But success is a lonely road. Success is anything that you want it to be. The only thing with trading is we spent so much time in this dream, like we're going to eventually be there. It's this dream. But once the going gets tough, we quit. Why? Human emotions. If you read any of my blogs, it gets into you. It beats at you. You start seeing all these gurus saying, hey, we're making thousands of dollars. Join our crew. We won't let you down. It only costs $2,500 a month. $2,500 a month? Come on. You're better than this. This information is out there, and it's at your hands. It's at your fingertips. All it takes is the grit and determination to get this done. You know what you want in life? You want the best for your friends. You want the best for your family. You're going to have to work for it. This is not going to be given to you. This has never been a situation that I've ever told anybody in this room that these opportunities are just going to be handed to you. It's not. You're going to have to work harder than you've ever worked in your whole entire life. And until you get to that point, trading is going to be the hardest damn thing you have ever done in your life. I will guarantee it. There is not a person who I know who is a successful trader that will not tell me, hands down, this is the hardest thing they've ever done. But those same exact people will tell me the exact same thing right afterwards, is that this is the best damn thing they've ever done. This is the one thing that I could do from home, make money for my house, make money for my family, enjoy the life and the luxury that I felt that I could make if I just put my hand to the keyboard and pick the right ticker. It's going to take time, and you're going to get knocked out. Like I said, you're going to get knocked out, but you have to keep getting up. Continue to be the best person, the best trader you can be. Because I know every single person here has it in them. They just have to push just a little bit more. I've told this to many of my students as well as a lot of the traders that I have here. It's not until the point you have to quit do you understand where you've finally begun. The point of quitting where your body's like, this is it. I cannot do any more. You did it. You found what some people would say the bottom. I say is a gift from the gods that they have finally told you, we have replenished from you everything that you had. And damn it, we can't do it anymore. Go ahead. Now it's time for the ride up. That's what trading is all about. The ride up. And I'm hoping today, if anything, that you understand that the ride up is so much better than the ride down. Just got to keep with us at Bervidia. And that is our class.
All right. Very good. And in conclusion, I can say, and probably a lot of other people can say that have sat here for a long period of time, is you don't have to play every play, and the tickers will come to you. The opportunities will come to you if you just be patient and wait. You don't have to jump into every stock. And you could hit one a week and do very well.
All it takes.
Yep, just one a week.
So I'm going to open up the forum if anybody wants to talk. I'll be chatting for a while. So if anybody wants to jump in voice, please feel free to do so. I'll be more than happy to help you guys out.
And I'm going to go ahead and close her down. Stop the recording live.
Thanks, Jim. I really appreciate it.
All right. So this is the closing of 101 with Overnightking and Washboard Jim and everybody else that's in the crew and the team. Have a great day.